My name is Peggy Drolashars, and I'm one of your presenters today, along with Melody Johnson, who is one of our business analysts on the financial side. We are recording this meeting today, so it will be available for you to listen to and share with your colleagues. We do ask, if possible, that you mute your phone so that we can keep the background noise down to a minimum. If you're not able to mute your phone on your end, then I can mute from this side, and then we'll just open it up at the end of different sections for questions that anyone may have.
Is the WebEx supported on Windows 10?
Is WebEx the product supported on Windows 10?
Is this program, this event, supported on Windows 10?
It should be, but I couldn't tell you for sure. I don't use Windows 10, but I would think it would be.
Peggy, this is Chrisanne.
Yeah.
I tried to do a WebEx with a client one time that was on Windows 10, and we couldn't. So I reported that to Wendy to let her know, because it didn't look like WebEx was supported for Windows 10.
What?
Okay.
I'm on Windows 10 and I can see your desktop.
It says,
Oh, good.
it says your version of Cisco WebEx does not support Windows 10. If you want to use WebEx
Yeah,
on
that's-
Windows 10, contact your administrator for more information.
So you might have to
Same
upgrade
message,
your
but-
WebEx then.
How do you
It
do
sounds
that?
like they maybe have a version that does support it. Okay, so again, if you could mute your phones, that would be great. Otherwise, we'll just mute from this side, and we're going to go ahead and get started. We have quite a bit to cover this afternoon. Our topic today is the Rural Health Clinic billing changes that are effective April 1st, 2016, right around the corner. I'm going to do a brief introduction here first. Our objectives today are to review the Rural Health Clinic billing changes from Medicare that are effective on April 1st, 2016, review how the changes affect your rural health claims and the billers, provide setup changes that are required in Centric, review anticipated payment transactions that you'll be getting back on the Rural Health Clinic claims from Medicare, and to explore future Centric changes as well. So our agenda is to first look at the changes effective April 1st. We'll provide some claim examples, and these claim examples are right from the Medicare Learning Network document, and so I'll bring that up in just a moment here to make sure that you've seen that, and if not, you can find that document. We'll look at the health plan setup, the billing and payment process, and then again the future health plan changes. So the Learning Network document is actually a very good document that hopefully you have seen and been able to review. It's the MLN Matters, and it's number 9269. It was updated here issued in January. It was updated in February, so you'll want the February updated document is the one you'll want. But this is a very good document to take you through the changes, as well as to review those claim examples as well. Again, the PowerPoint will be shared, though, so you will be able to review those changes, as well as how those work in Centric. So in the end, the PowerPoint would be a better place to look at the examples from even this document, because we've translated them into the Centric application. I am going to mute here. I think we've got quite a bit of background noise there, so if you hold on just a moment, I'll go ahead and do some muting. And Melody, do you know what caller ID you are? She may not, so she may just have to let me know here, but we'll mute a couple and see if we can get rid of the background noise here going in.
Peggy, I believe I'm number 18.
Thank you. You are now muted. If I can just get it to a point where we don't have a lot of background noise, we'll just stop there, and it's actually sounding pretty good now. So I'll stop at that point, and I didn't get everybody muted, but I don't think I need to, so we'll just continue on. So the billing changes are effective April 1st, 2016. We first just want to visit the reason for these changes. CMS regulations required covered entities to report standard medical code sets. In this case, we're talking about the HCPCS codes when we're talking about the rural health clinic for electronic healthcare transactions. But up until now, the rural health clinics have only been directed to submit the HCPCS code for preventive services as part of the Affordable Care Act. In the CY 2016 physician fee schedule, however, the proposed rule, and there's the rule number, in that proposed rule, CMS proposed all rural health clinics be required to submit the HCPCS codes and other codes as required on claims, like modifiers, for services furnished. So now you've got the requirement that you have to provide the HCPCS codes on your rural health clinic claims. But it goes a little bit further than that, as you're going to see as we go through here, and becomes a little more complex. So prior to April 1st, and how you currently bill, since we're in March, is that you use the ancillary services were billed as incidental to the face-to-face encounters. So they were rolled up into the chargeable line item with a 52X revenue code, and then preventive services were billed separately. So all your charges fell under the Rev Code 521 for the most part. There was no CPT or HCPCS codes required on the claim or the visit line, and a quantity of one was billed, even if there were more than one charge rolled up into that 521 line. So that's the world we live in prior to April 1st. Now, just because up here we're telling you that, through March 31st, you'll bill under the current method, the changes that will be required in Centric will change the master files that will affect the billing. So you really need to complete your March billing before you make your master file changes and do your April billing. So as much of March as you can get billed before you start the April billing, the better off you're going to be. So you don't want to go back today and make your changes to the master files we're going to talk about. You want to get that March finished as close as possible, and then go ahead and make those master file changes. So what are the changes? The rural health billing requirements in change 9269, and as I showed you, is reported in the MLN Matters 9269, was released January 26, 2016. This is really important because that is a very short timeline for a software vendor to be able to evaluate changes needed and to implement those changes in the software. In addition, the document for the MLN Matters was revised on 2/29 to provide clearer examples of what they want on the bills. So implementation is April 1st, so that gave us just a couple of months there to complete everything for these changes, which is not possible to get that done. So there will be some edits you'll have to make on the claims, and we'll talk about those in a minute. So what are the changes? The rural health clinics are required to report the appropriate HCPCS code for each service line with the revenue code and other required billing codes. That's a generalization. We're going to add HCPCS codes and the appropriate revenue code to the claims. And we need to know the payment for the RHC services is still under the all-inclusive rate system. The payment didn't change. In billing the qualifying visits using the HCPCS requirements now, the encounter must include one of the services under the rural health clinic qualifying visit list. There is a visit list attached to the MLN Matters document, but this morning we got a new qualifying list from CMS. And I want to show you this so you can see what's happening and that we're still in flux on some of the changes for this regulation. This is the new medical service list or qualified visit list. All of these in red on the list that we've received, you cannot bill until October. So those red ones, the billable visit is effective on April 1st, but will receive payment beginning on October 1st. So they added a lot of qualifying visits up here, but these will not be paid until October. So those came to us today. So there's still changes happening with this, and as you'll see in a minute, there's still some things we're waiting on Medicare to resolve. So your encounter total charges must be included on the qualifying visit line, minus the charges for any approved preventive service. So what that's saying is that we're going to take the visit charge, we're going to put that on the claim, we're going to list any additional services we provided, and then we're going to change the total of our visit line to include all additional services except preventive services. So in a moment we'll give some examples and you'll see, but that is leading to an overstated claim. So all other rural health clinic services furnished during the encounter are reported on a separate charge line and included in the total on the qualified visit line. But the payment is still included just in the all-inclusive rate. So qualifying visits, we're going to specify that because it is important in this regulation. And more information is provided in the MLN matters as well as the list of those visits. As always, it must be a face-to-face encounter between the patient and the rural health clinic practitioner, during which one or more rural health clinic services are furnished. Qualifying medical visits are typically evaluation and management, or E&M services, or screening for certain preventive services. Qualifying mental health visits are typically psychiatric diagnostic evaluation, psychotherapy, or psychoanalysis. So the reason this is important is because these revenue codes are important. The qualifying medical services and approved preventive health services are billed under revenue code 52X, generally 521, but there is a 527 and a 528 for corrections and canceling of the claim. There is also qualifying mental health services billed under revenue code 900, and telehealth originating site facility fees are billed under 780. I wanted you to see these codes because as we go into the claim examples, you'll see these codes on some of the claims. So 52X is medical, 900 is mental health, and 780 is telehealth originating site facility fees. So charges for all non-preventive services are rolled up into the rural health care qualifying visit line. So it's total charges less preventive services. All the charges except the qualifying visit, which is the qualifying visit line, must be included as detail lines on the UB with the HCPCS code. So if we're line iteming out the additional services, but taking the total of those services and adding it into the visit line, you can see we're going to be inflating the charge amount on the claim. So our claim total is going to be higher than your AR bill. And this is something we struggled with in a lot of facilities. We've been in a lot of phone calls with CMS, with Eide Bailly, with users. So a lot of people have struggled with that. And some have the solution of increasing the charges on the AR bill, which we can't do because that is your revenue, and that has to be what you earned in the time you earned it. So we cannot inflate your AR bill. It will stay at the total of just the charges for the services you provided. So instead of inflating the AR bill, we are inflating the claim total. We have had a call with Eide Bailly to verify the road and path we're taking on this, and they are in complete agreement with our processes. So This is the right path to take. We have no choice, though, but to inflate that claim total, because that's how it has to be submitted to Medicare. Just a note, there's been a lot of people voicing their opinions and complaints about this process, but the federal qualified health centers have already been billing like this for Medicare. So in Medicare's point of view, what's the difference if we add rural health clinics to that? Or are you doing it for other types of facilities? But it does result in additional time to process the claims and the reimbursements. And Bailey gave us some examples of facilities that cannot use ERAs. They're having to hand key their reimbursements again. In our case, you won't have to do that, and we'll walk through why we've got that worked out. There is still some pending ruling that we're waiting for from Medicare. The process to submit a claim without a qualifying visit on the date of service. If you submit a claim March 1st, or April 1st rather, without a qualifying visit, it will be held as unable to process in the Medicare system. So Bailey has suggested that we can take those non-qualifying visits and roll them up into a qualifying visit that occurred 30 days prior to or 30 days after the non-qualifying visit. Now, some of those non-qualifying visits may be included in the list we got today, so that might resolve that issue. But if it's not included in that list, then you can match it to a visit 30 days prior, or hold to the claim and match it to a new visit within 30 days after the non-qualifying visit. It will affect your AR. You will be holding that revenue for 30 days without payment, but it's better than sending it to Medicare as unable to process. So that might be your best option until we have more from Medicare on this. So in centric billing, claims will require edits when there are non-preventive services in addition to the qualifying visit, because we have to increase the total on that visit line. Each additional service will initially show on the claim as a separate line with the HCPCS code. So when you post your bill, you're going to have your visit line and you're going to have the additional lines, if you have any, for the non-preventive services. The qualifying visit line total must be edited to include total charges less the preventive services. So why do you have to edit your claim? On our side, for one, it's too short of an implementation time to be able to change complex programs like the bill post. In addition, we're still getting new rulings from CMS on this, including lists of qualifying visits and how we can bill the non-qualifying visits. So we're still waiting on some information from Medicare as well. We're going to walk through some claim examples, and then I'll open it up for questions. I think once you see the examples, that will help a little bit. These are directly from the MLN, MM9269. So the first one we're going to look at here is a qualifying visit charge of $73.40 and a venipuncture charge of $3. So when you look at the text that accompanies this, it indicates the rural health shall report one service line per encounter with a 52X code, and it has to be a qualifying medical visit from the list. Payment, coinsurance, and deductible will be based on that qualifying medical visit line. But all other RHC services furnished during the encounter are also reported with the charge for the service and the appropriate revenue code. So here we have our visit 52X. It shows $76.40, not the $73.40 I indicated up under my visit charge. And it shows the $3 for the venipuncture. The visit line is the all-inclusive reimbursement, and the venipuncture is part of that service. You're not eligible for additional pay for that $3. Let's take a look at how the charges were put in to come to the $76.40 and $3. Our office visit was put in